Hello, this is U.Gov, and U.Gov is all about you and the government. We focus on government functions, terms of government, concepts of government, and citizens' corresponding obligations to their government, to their state. I am Itohan Olomu-Agbodo. This week, we'll be taking a look at democracy. But first, we'll take a break. This week on Edubox, we are taking a look at the political concept, democracy. According to American political scientist Larry Diamond, democracy consists of four key elements: a political system for choosing and replacing the government through free and fair elections, the active participation of the people as citizens in politics and civic life, protection of the human rights of all citizens, a rule of law in which the laws and procedures apply equally to all citizens. Todd Landman, nevertheless, draws our attention to the fact that democracy and human rights are two different concepts. You're welcome back. This week we are talking about democracy, the concept of democracy. We'll first of all go to the streets and find out what Nigerians know about that concept, and we'll be right back.
Democracy in simple terms simply mean a government that is meant to favor the people. A government whereby the leaders in question, the leaders who are in power, are liable and subject to the populace. It is not a system whereby leaders would not would come with policies that citizens won't even have a say or an input in. It is not a government whereby the government will do what they feel they can at their willing or at any given time. It is a government that should favor the people.
Democracy in Nigeria, for me, I would say, for you to understand democracy, okay, you need to know that democracy is compatible with a particular social system. Okay, there is a kind of social system which must be in place, in a particular society for the so-called liberal democracy to operate. So the problem with democracy in Nigeria is that the Nigerian society has not attained that level. We've not attained that, what Father Kinte would call civil society. We've not gotten to the level where we are politically conscious, you know, socially conscious. We understand where the political culture, will be very, very high, or what Armand and Powell will call participant political culture. So our level of political culture is still very, very low. So we cannot say, so based on that low level of political culture, democracy cannot operate. And that's why what at best what we can say we are practicing in Nigeria is caricature of liberal democracy. That's why you will see things like vote buying, snatching of ballot box. I mean, how many people even know those that represent their constituency in the national in the federal House of Representatives or the House of Senate? So this goes to tell you that we don't. It's just like you giving a tool that you don't know how to operate. We don't know how to operate democracy. So I think Nigeria, we as a people, we need to evolve.
From my own understanding of democracy, I don't think the current situation of Nigeria warrant or qualified to be called a democratic setting, because from all indication, the so-called dividends of democracy is actually missing from our structural and the way the whole thing is arranged, from the judiciary to even the parliament, the executives, the things that democracies are even supposed to benefit the citizens of this country, we are not enjoying it. We don't have the social amenities that are required. Everything has been privatized. And some government is supposed to be in charge of our basic amenities. We have to pay for water, we have to pay for electricity, we have to pay for even some roads. For you to pass a good road in some area, the guys that maybe repatch the road or repair the road, they will ask you to even pay some money before you pass there. So I don't think this thing we are practicing in Nigeria is democracy. Maybe they should look for another name to call it, or maybe I don't even know. But it's not democracy.
Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But in Nigeria, I don't think we practice democracy.
Democracy is a system of government where the leaders of such country are elected by the members of the country to represent them.
You're welcome back. This week, we are talking about democracy, as I said. And who better to talk about democracy than a lecturer in the Department of Political Science? I am at the University of Lagos at the office of Dr. Odukoya. He's an associate professor in the Department of Political Science and the immediate past ASU chairman of Unilag chapter. And I want to say a big thank you for having us this week.
You're welcome to University of Lagos.
And so, democracy, what is democracy?
For the purpose of analysis, let's say three things matters in democracy: the people, and the people.
Interesting.
Yeah. And how do we come about that? Democracy as a word is rooted in its Greek origin. The word, it's made up of two compound words: demos, which means people, and katos, which means rule. So democracy is the rule of the people.
Of people.
So no matter whatever definition you give to it, democracy is just about the people, and the people. It means that the people must actually determine who are the incumbents. The people must be those who must be the ultimate sovereign. Those who determine what happens in government, what those who are in government, and what government do with the power the people has given them.
So when we say you and the government is all about you indeed at the end of the day.
Yes, indeed, democracy is a concentrated power of the people.
Wow, interesting. I like that concept. Concentrated power of the people. Okay, now looking at democracy, can we have some tenets of democracy, or what characteristics should democracy have? Because you've talked the people, the people, the people.
Yeah, unfortunately, coincidentally, democracy have become the most promiscuous term within the political sciences. Every society, every manner of rules try to justify their rule by saying there is democracy, such that you even get confused as to what is democracy. You see an otherwise totalitarian regime will talk about democracy and things like that. So we need to be very careful. Some people have reduced democracy to its minimalist concept. What I say, minimum. That is, wherever you have elections every 4 years, even within theory, when we look at people like Robert Dahl or Samuel P. Huntington, the way they define democracy is in terms of periodic election.
Okay.
But the periodicity of election does not make democracy, although election is a principal tenet of democracy. But when you equally have election, you equally start asking yourself, to what extent is this election free and fair? Then again, we equally talk about popular participation. Some people will talk about participation, but participation could be minimal. Who are those participating? Are women participating? Are there barriers to participation? But when we talk about popular participation, we're talking about participation in such a way that all adults are able to have input in the government of their own society. That is equally key. We are talking about inclusiveness. We are talking about justice. We are talking, and again, you see, one sad thing again is that we talk about rule of law within democracy. But again, nobody talks about rule of law, talks about equality before the law. But there's equally a problem. What about equality in the composition of the law? If laws have been unequally composed, and we're not talking about equality before the law, it is problematic. These are issues, these are problems within the tenets of democracy, within its application beyond the theoretical orientation that we hear about. But ultimately, for us to say democracy is working, for us to say a democracy is in place, it must be a popular empowerment. That is, it should bring about a situation where the people, as the ultimate sovereign, are the one from whom power are derived. Not a situation whereby the megad has now taken over as a controller of the house. the people must be the ultimate determinant of what happened within a democracy.
Quite
And
interesting.
again, we want to say that what is key for democracy is the choice. The people should have the ability to freely have choice. But unfortunately, what we have in most democracy, including our own, is what we call democratization of disempowerment. Choiceless democracy. The people are given little or no choice to actually choose from.
Just from. So you in talking about little or no choice and not just having elections being the major component of having a country that is called a democracy, how do you view Nigeria in terms of the principle of democracy?
Uh, Sincerely, on what on like democracy, we must agree is a process.
Yes.
That means it's an ideal we're trying to get to. So even some people have equally accused society like the United States of America has been an illiberal democracy.
Okay.
So we can't get to the end of the situation. But in terms of Nigeria, whatever parameter you say you put to it, or the basic parameter of this thing, we still have a long way to go. The people are not the ultimate sovereignty here. Quite a number of our people are being disempowered because of the circumstances, the poverty of our situation. And that's why it is easy for people to want to buy votes. And unfortunately, because the people, our political parties don't even campaign again, what you have is rally. You see political parties without even discussing issues.
No
The
manifestos.
the ethno-religious composition and orientation of society is equally not helping matters. So you see, the people must take their destiny into their hand. The people must know that the kind of government that is in place will determine their own future and the future of their own children. And you see, poverty knows no religion, knows no tribe. And a poor Hausa man is not different from a poor Igbo man, neither is it different from a poor Ijaw. So poverty has no tribal mark. So people should vote, people should relate to government based on principles, based on philosophy, based on policies, based on what they want to do. Because government will change either for good or for bad our individual and collective fortunes. So democracy gives the opportunity for people to be able to make a difference. But whether they will be able to make a difference is a function of how they use and exercise their franchise.
The franchise, and that is their right to vote.
That's their right to vote.
Okay,
and
so
be voted for.
It's their right to vote and be voted for. That's the franchise. So how will you use your right? That is what we're talking about today. We're talking about democracy, and one integral part of democracy, as Dr. Dukoya said, is the right to vote and be voted for. That is your franchise. We'll go on a quick break and we'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Many people long for success. They desire to do something with their lives, to make a difference in society, to become famous, or to become great. We all have the want to move from ordinary to extraordinary, to make the leap from good to great, to turn the seed of greatness that is in us into a fruitful field, and to fulfill the call of God upon our lives. From Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome comes this new and riveting book, The Power of Your Mind. Do you want to do something extraordinary with your life? See, God has given you an excellent tool to use in your journey of greatness. It is called your mind. Learn how to walk in divine excellence through the power of a renewed mind. Get your copy of The Power of Your Mind today.
You're welcome back. We are still talking about democracy, and Odukoya is our guest for today and is talking about the tenets of democracy. He just mentioned the fact that democracy, Nigeria's democracy, is a work in progress. And looking at that in mind, in terms of the rule of law as one of the tenets of democracy, how far has Nigeria gone in implementing laws, in obeying and respecting rule of law?
That's a major trajectory of our situation. there's this popular saying that in China, for instance, it takes donkey years to make laws, but once it is made, you dare not violate it. But in Nigeria, the easiest thing you can get done is actually putting law in place. You can get it done overnight. As a matter of fact, government pronouncement becomes law. But you see, what the problem we have is implementation, and beyond implementation is the big man syndrome, what I call the big man syndrome. And the big man actually starts from government. Government is so full of arbitrariness. Government is so full of violating law. Government is so full of unconstitutionalism. Because rule of law is about constitutionalism, following the law, obeying the law, and making the law
Even
supreme.
obeying court orders and all that.
Yeah. So if we have to assess Nigeria, we are falling highly, very, very, very highly behind in terms of rule of law, in terms of actually, because equally, respecting the fundamental human right of citizens is equally part of the components of rule of law. All these things are major problems. And again, that takes us back to the kind of states we have. Like we have said, the Nigerian state, unfortunately, it's has as its own progenitor, the colonial state, which at independent was never transformed, but was merely inherited. And beyond that, again, another thing we equally need to know, and more often than not, when we talk about democracy and try to pass blame, we try to forget too that Nigeria had no democratic inheritance. At 1960, we were forced to start democracy, moving straight from colonial rule where there was no democracy. All our democratic regimes or administration today, First Republic, Second Republic, Third Republic, and these ones have been given or enforced by the military. So we have this colonial, arbitrary, authoritarianism and military tendencies underpinning our democracies. And within this context, you can understand the violation of rule of law, the non-observance of rule of law. So consequently, therefore, we need to rigid a lot of things in our system. The people actually need to take control of the system. And we must, what we have now is a situation where we have democracy without Democrats.
Democracy without Democrats. That's another interesting concept.
Yeah, we have democracy without Democrats because, you see, for example, look at the two people contesting the presidency now. One is a military, the two leading candidates. One is a former general. And don't forget the antecedents of Decree 4. One is equally a paramilitary man, a former custom officer. We had an Obasanjo that was a military. We had this Senate president that was a military. And the whole atmosphere is this authoritarian tendencies. And beyond that, even our politicians that are non-military, they have become what we call militarisans.
Militarisans, not just politicians.
Those are
anymore.
politicians in military with military temperament, because what everybody has actually been used to, we came up. Even our constitution was by imposition. We the people, it was a lie. Nigerian people,
we never came together.
We never came together. Even to even put this 1999 constitution. So within that context, there's this pathology, or the authoritarian pathology that actually underpins
our democracy. So what is
so
Nigeria
we have a
getting
civil
right?
rule, not a democratic rule.
Okay, a civil rule, not a democratic rule. So that's another
But
discussion
there's a
for
question
another
as well. How civil is even the civil rule?
Oh, that's why I said it's another discussion entirely, a question for another day. But looking at Nigeria, you said it's a work in progress, and the fact that even our democracy was imposed to some extent.
Yeah, we don't have a tradition.
We don't have the traditional democracy.
From colonialism.
Yes. So now, what do you think Nigeria has gotten right so far in terms of democracy?
So far, we must credit ourselves that we're in the fourth election, which is actually very remarkable.
And laudable.
We've been having from Obasanjo. We've started having back-to-back civilian regime. Before now, it has always been very difficult to transit from one civilian regime to another. But we have equally had a situation where an incumbent have been defeated.
Yes.
And we are equally having a very robust challenge to a sitting incumbent in government. And we are equally having a situation whereby a government a party that have been ousted from power after 16 years is struggling to come back. And we've moved to a stage that we're equally, we've brought some finesse and some innovation into our electoral system. For instance, now, either to when you contest, when during the election, all it takes to disrupt the election is for people to go and destroy, snatch ballot and things. And now, or stuff, take ballot boxes, put this thing. But now,
marked papers already.
you understand? But now, our ballot papers are customized to polling units. We have a situation that even when you prevent election in a certain place, as long as the votes there is more than what it will make another the opponent win, you do those elections. A lot of innovation are coming in and things like that. And I think the people with the kind of debates, the people on the social media has equally helped. People are getting much more very enlightened, much more involved, much more this thing. So far so good that this thing, but we still need to deepen our democracy.
Indeed.
We need to deepen our democracy. Our electoral education, our voters' education still need to be deepened. And again, education is fundamental to democracy.
I like that. Education is fundamental to democracy.
Unfortunately, we seem to have a ruling class that has a pathological hatred for knowledge and education. We are in a knowledge global society. Our government should invest heavily in education at all levels. Our education educational institutions all over the country are nothing to write over. We are about 20, 30 years backwards.
Wow.
So we can't talk about democracy when people are uneducated. Illiteracy is the greatest evil against democracy. The next evil is poverty. Where people are illiterate and poor, you cannot have a vibrant, purposeful, empowering democracy. Our people must be educated. Our people must be literate. Our education must be given priority.
Education must be given priority. That is indeed a very nice place to stop. You made it very, very interesting for us, and you gave us insights into the fact that we have tried as a nation in terms of democracy, but there's still more to be done.
Quite a lot.
And just like your last words, you talked about education. Education is important. Everyone needs a bit of education. You talked about the fact that education should become a priority for our democracy to thrive, and I really like that point.
We must fight poverty.
To fight poverty. And we say thank you so much for giving us your office, giving us your insights, educating us. Indeed, we say thank you.
Thank you so much, too, and thank you to all your people.
Thank you, sir. So we have some more tidbits for you on the show. Don't go away. That's the much we can take this week on the show. U.gov is all about you and the government. And this week we talked about democracy, the tenets of democracy, the characteristics of democracy, and we focused on Nigeria's democratic process. If you have comments for us, we'd like you to log on to our website on www.loveoplus.org and send comments to our numbers that will be shown on your screen right now. I'm Olomu-Agbodo. For me, it's bye for now.